What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Edine, alongside with my beautiful wife Melinda. We are also known as Hustlin' Hooks, full-time business owners, resellers, insert title here, whatever you want to call us.
All those good titles. We're back together in the office today. It's just going to be a quick vlog, kind of talking about where we started, where we're at now. It's been a very exciting week for the Hustlin' Hook Corporation here, and we'll tell you why in just a little bit. If you remember from our last video, we picked up a lot of bulk items. This is the situation when you first walk in the door. If Dean wants to pan over, we used to have a table here, and it's a lot of bins now, and overflow all the way over to here. These are the ones still from our first pick there. So we're working through both at the same time at this point. It looks pretty crowded, but we've actually made a lot of progress. These bins all had shoes in them. This is the second tier of these that we've emptied. So we've combined quite a bit. And then we'll show you what we were working on yesterday / today, where all that work went to. We had everybody out here yesterday, as well as this morning, doing some shoe cleaning. Bins on bins on bins on bins. It went very quickly though, because again, a lot of those shoes just needed dusting. So it was just, we picked out the ones that were ready, basically, didn't need repairs or things like that. So that went fast. As you can see, we're lining them up. These are all shoes from that buy. We've already moved a bunch over to our main warehouse. And then here are the ones we cleaned with the bins. And this is Allie making her YouTube debut. Hi.
Hi, Allie.
That's Allie. So she's joined our team, which has been amazing and awesome. I mean, she's really cool, but also just having an extra set of hands. And then you remember Emily, the OG. So here's where we're at. Dean fixed the wheel finally on the ladder, but it's not really all that movable. It doesn't lock when you put it down. So here's the deal. You pop it up, and hypothetically it should lock here, so you can just move it on the wheels. But I have to keep holding this down. And this isn't really, I mean, imagine me picking orders, 50 orders on this thing, and I have to go up every 2 feet. It's just not gonna work. So we're gonna be selling this one and getting one that's easier and works better with our system. That's next on our to-do list. As you can see, we've moved up past reachable limits for your average person. And that's where we're at. Emily's still working on getting these old shoes off the floor and into the new system. So we are still plugging away at that. Just bulky items and a few boxes, mostly shoes. Once we have all those picked up, this wall is clear, we're going to build out another wall of racking for inventory.
Like Melinda mentioned, once this stuff is cleaned up, we'll construct more racking. And the other thing too we have to consider is actual area for us to put in these big buys, right? We bought a massive amount of stuff. We didn't really have a good place to put it, obviously, because behind me over here, we still have all this racking that needs to be constructed. While we're constructing these new racks, we're going to designate an area out here in the warehouse that we're going to do shipping, and we're also going to do inbound storage so that it's all contained here. And then we'll modify the rest of the office area, the way we see fit. We started with just the two of us, and now there's actually 5 people total working on our business. We have Emily and Allie here with us locally, and then we just hired our first virtual assistant. She's out of Washington, and she reached out to us actually via YouTube, and we connected, and she started 2 days ago, and she's already drafted 30 listings for us, and we're still kind of ironing that process out. But so far it's a little bit clunky, but it's running pretty smooth. She's done an excellent job so far. Nearly no mistakes, over 30 listings, which is a really good start. It really helps that she is also a reseller, so not a lot of training needed. We just kind of gave her the format of what we want to see and how we want to structure our titles and our descriptions and so on and so forth. And most of that stuff is just copy paste anyways. And all the shoes that she's listed so far are all Dansko, so it's definitely helped with the learning curve because it's all the same thing over and over again. A couple things to mention. Yesterday, Melinda said we got all those shoes cleaned. We ended up finding 245 pairs. That's going to get us through next week, Thursday, at 35 listings per day. So we bumped up from 30 to 35, and I could see us within a week bumping that up to 40 as our VA gets caught up. And then soon, probably within the next month, we're going to be up to 50 or 60 listings per day, 7 days a week, which is awesome. It's the reason why we're in this warehouse, right? It's just to start turning some real volume. Go ahead.
So as I mentioned, this has been a very exciting week for us because we finally have employees in place where we're realizing the dream, the actual vision of why we started moving to clothes and shoes, why we moved into a warehouse and started scaling. With multiple people, obviously you can churn out more photos, you can get more processed, and then with the VA, that is such a huge chunk of time for, I mean, that was our biggest hurdle, right? It's like, how do we possibly get to listing more and more every day? And the answer is, you get other people in place to do it.
For sure. And if you've been following us for any amount of time, you know, we've said this from the start. We don't want to be resellers. We want to be business owners. So this is a small business that we're looking to turn into a multi-million-dollar business. This isn't anything new. People have done this before. This is just new to us. And what we've done is just take ideas from everyone that we've learned from that shares knowledge on the internet, and then also taken our experience in previous management positions and corporate level positions, and all that information, education, and real life experience, we're turning that into what this is blooming into, which is very exciting. Like, going from just the, you know, her and I struggling to balance everything out of our own home with a bunch of clutter around, with a newborn, to now having an actual place of work where people come to work, and everything is just so much smoother. That's for sure.
So as they take over more tasks, that's going to give us more time to do the other things that flow into the business, such as pricing, working with vendors, things like that, setting up our other projects that are also going to eventually be passive income that you have to work at first to set up and get going. So we have a lot of those going on. Well, maybe not a lot. We have a couple things going on that we would really like more time to focus on. So this has been awesome. So, and as far as cross listing, I started using the free Flipped app or website, whatever.
Sponsor us.
Yeah, sponsor. This isn't sponsored. Please. Because our VA lists on just eBay. So once those drafts are published, I can just import that info right over to Flipped and then just publish them to Posh. So that's been working out really well. Takes a little bit of time to do that, obviously, but not as much time as if I was sitting down creating the original listings and cross listing.
A few things I want to mention. One, it took us nearly 3 years to get here. So if you're just getting started, patience. One thing we actually discussed earlier, and I used this, what is that called? Like an example? What is that called? There's a word for it. Analogy? Yeah. Analogy. An analogy of if a grandmaster chess player wants to be, you know, if a person wants to be a grandmaster chess player, master, whatever the title is, they have to focus on that one task for a long period of time and get really good at it. So if you truly want to create a reselling business where you start employing other people to run it for you, you have to start doing all of it yourself. You have to build it up and stay focused on it. Going from one to another to now I want to do this and I want to try this and I'm going to dabble in this and I'm going to do this. It's not the way to go. You can disagree with me and say, well, I can multitask and I want to build this many streams of income. That's all fine, but you need to get the first one going so that it's actually feeding you and your family before you start doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
The other most common question that we get is like, where do we find help? How do we find a VA? Fiverr is a good place to start if you want to do it that way. We found our VA, she reached out to us because of our social media presence. And so if you want people to start reaching out to you for bulk deals and, you know, people looking to work for you, spend the next 3 years building up your social media account, have credibility, and that's how you can get some people working for you in a different way.
Or alternatively, you know, go on Facebook or social media and utilize people that you know. You know, these are tasks that would be really easy for a high school student to do as part-time work after school, or a college student to fit into their day. It's very flexible. It's easy to train on. You don't need to have experience. It helps, but you don't need it. It's not required. You're just teaching very basic, simple, repetitive tasks over and over again. And then you try to switch those up based on the day and times during the day so it doesn't get like super boring. But even your family, use your family, use your, a lot of people use their kids, pay their kids instead of allowance. They're earning money
Yeah.
working for your business, that type of thing. And then maybe eventually word of mouth if you have a friend who is looking for some side work, or they have a friend of a friend. So it doesn't have to be you have a YouTube account or anything like that. I think a lot of people are like, well, I could never do that because I'm not on YouTube and I don't have a big Instagram. So don't let that hinder you by any means. And I would say, I was talking to Allie about this one time, we have this long-term vision and we know the steps that needed to happen, but we didn't exactly know how those steps are going to come together and fit into place.
Sure.
And then it just sort of started happening, and then you just roll with those punches and you keep growing off of that, and you kind of just figure it out as opportunities present themselves. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Like, we didn't have the blueprint of exactly, okay, at this time someone's going to reach out to you. We're just like, okay, we know we're going to need people, and then it happened.
Yeah, so the way we met the 3 folks that work with us, the first, Emily, her father followed us on Instagram, and then he told her about us.
Yeah.
Allie, was it her aunt on Facebook?
Cousin.
Her cousin was posting on Facebook that she's starting her resale adventure and that she was looking for donations. And Melinda reached out to her to help guide her, and they went out for lunch, coffee a couple times, and now she's part of our team.
Yeah.
And then, the third one I already mentioned is out of Washington, and she reached out because of social media. So, like Melinda said, you don't have to have a social media account, but don't point fingers at us and say, well, it's easy for you guys to do because you guys have blah, blah, blah. Think about it as the last 3 years we actually spent creating these social media accounts to have those opportunities. Reach out, like Melinda said, family. Like, if you have a cousin in, who knows, in Ohio, and you're like, hey, she's a stay-at-home mom, maybe she wants some like data entry work, she could do my listings for me, because it's not really that hard.
You can
just
fill in some blanks.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of people that are looking for this type of work. Just find them. The other thing I want to mention too is budgeting is extremely important. If you're looking to like scale this up, like you're gonna have to eat some beans and rice for a long period of time before you can start taking that money you're actually making because of your profit margins, reinvesting it, and then only paying yourself a little bit before you can start really making some money.
Yeah, so make sure that you are starting with, a healthy amount of money. It doesn't have to be tens of thousands, but like Adine mentioned, figure out what it is that you're going to need to scale and figure out how much that costs. Make sure you have enough in your account to cover that, plus future expenses, right? So then once your spending is the same, you're not spending any more, but your income is higher, right? So you have more money coming in than you're spending, then you can start paying yourself more.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's enough blabbering. I hope that gives you some guidance or inspiration, and just know that we didn't start here in this office. We started with a graphing calculator literally when our daughter was born. That's when we started, roughly 3 years ago now, and it takes a lot of time and patience. The steps we took was to get 100% debt free, including the mortgage, pad our savings accounts, like really struggle through managing all of that, getting all that done, and then start building the business. And yeah, it's a long road. It can be lonely. Just keep driving. The road of success is bumpy and can be scary, but
yeah, and we're both exhausted most of the time. But it's building something where we have an end goal, where we know, okay, we're gonna hustle really hard now so that our days are more flexible and a little bit more convenient for us later down the road.
Yeah,
once
and
we put it in.
We have so much to learn. I mean, there's so many new processes for us.
And that'll keep changing, because we might add, other platforms too. Like we haven't been on Whatnot, and that's kind of something on the back radar of like, well, once we get this going, maybe we'll try that out. We don't know.
Yeah, one thing at a time. We're going to talk about one more thing. Melinda's going to cover a very important subject with you, and that's your old listings.
So this is something that we have preached before, which is taking care of your old listings. Revisit them. We've been doing a few a day. There's a reason they haven't sold yet, and that could be because the market has changed since you listed it. That's a big thing that Emily is taking care of right now. While she's inventorying these older shoes, she's dropping the price, adding our new shipping model, because remember, everything used to be free shipping, and just updating them, essentially, bringing them back to current market prices. And that's something you want to do with all of your inventory at some point. You can go on your eBay web browser and you can sort your listings by your oldest. And I encourage you to do that at least periodically. I know it's another thing that sometimes people can't fit in, but here and there, also look at your pictures. Have you updated your photography style? Photography style? If your pictures are outdated and dingy and you've updated your lighting because you know your pictures look dingy, probably just pull it and take some new photos and upload them, because that can make a big difference. So always keep your eye on what your listings are doing, and if you're like, oh wow, I've had that for a year, drop the price, just move it, get it out. At that point, it's just taking up renting space for free in your inventory system, and you don't need that.
One thing I'll add to that real quick. The oldest listing I fixed yesterday was a year and 8 months old or something like that, and the gender of the shoe size was wrong, right? So like, this is actually, it was like $17 over market value, because we didn't really know what we were doing almost 2 years ago, and it was the wrong gender shoe. So like, here's why this isn't selling, dummy. Like, do something about it.
Last thing, Toddy. She's still here. We haven't gotten a snapshot of Toddy in a bit.
Yeah, she's good.
She's still alive, a little bit grayer, a little bit sleepier, a little bit more bumpy.
Yeah, she's a little bumpy, but she's fine.
She knows where to sit. That's going to do it for this one. Short and sweet. On the next video, we're going to get into that haul a little bit more specifically. We're going to break down some specific shoes, profit margins, what we spent, all of that good numbery, mathy stuff.
Cool. Until then.
Take care.